Hello and welcome to your first BONDCAST episode that is a special, everybody. So, this is the spectacular S.P.E.C.T.R.E special. So I did the spectacular S.P.E.C.T.R.E special. Play on words. I love it. Right, okay. Let's get into it. This is not part of Series 1. So this is the 6th episode of the BONDCAST, existing out of Series 1. And Series 1 is only up to 4 episodes, with the introductory episode and the special currently kind of bookending sort of midway through. We're not focusing on Dr. No. We're looking at S.P.E.C.T.R.E, the whole organisation, the start of the whole Bond history. This is insane. S.P.E.C.T.R.E wasn't just a film. S.P.E.C.T.R.E is a whole organisation. Let's open with a quote from S.P.E.C.T.R.E by Ernst Stavro Blofeld. S.P.E.C.T.R.E is a dedicated fraternity whose strength lies in the absolute integrity of its members. Now you're all sat there and you're thinking, what does S.P.E.C.T.R.E mean? If you're not already a Bond fan, I'll tell you. S.P.E.C.T.R.E is an acronym, and it means Special Executive for Counter-Intelligence, Terrorism, Revenge and Extortion, stylized simply as S.P.E.C.T.R.E. And it's a global criminal and terrorist organisation featured in the James Bond novels and the EON productions and the non-EON film Never Say Never Again, led by 007's nemesis Ernst Stavro Blofeld, who doesn't actually appear till From Russia with Love, but I might do an episode on his character just outside of all of this, because I don't know, S.P.E.C.T.R.E has so many members in it that pop up throughout James Bond throughout, so I might do a character profiles of S.P.E.C.T.R.E overall. Dr. Julius Snow, which was Wednesday's episode, in one of them. So they first formally appeared in the novel Thunderball 1961 and the movie Dr. No 1962. Was absent from the franchise, for 4 decades until 2015, and then reappeared in the 25th film No Time to Die. It's all very... It's just... let's get into it. Let's look at the key people here. In S.P.E.C.T.R.E, Ernst Blofeld, founder. Emilio Largo, the vice leader. Rosa Klebb, Irma Bunt, Tamil Rahani, Nina Bismaker, Mr. White, the co-founder, Lashifa, Dominic Green, Raoul Silva, Mr. Hinks, and Primo. They are some of the people, and also somewhere in there is the involvement of Listofer Safin. So let's look at the ideology for S.P.E.C.T.R.E. So in the novels by Ian Fleming, S.P.E.C.T.R.E was primarily a commercial enterprise led by Blofeld. Their top level members were 21 individuals, 18 of whom handled day-to-day affairs and were drawn in groups of 3 from 6 of the world's greatest criminal organizations. the Gestapo, Marshal Joseph Broz Tito's secret police, the Mafia, the Union Course, and the massive heroin smuggling operation based in Turkey, as well as a now defunct intelligence network run by Blofeld. So there's lots of organisations that appear throughout Bond, but Spectre's the first one. It's the most recognisable in the Bond series. To date, the remaining 3 members of Spectre are Blofeld as leader, a physicist and electronics expert added for their expertise on special matters. Oh, wait, no, Blofeld, a physicist and an electronics expert. I misread that. My bad, guys. My bad. Right, okay. So, their debut was in Thunderball. At the time of writing the novel, 1959, Fleming believed that the Cold War might end during the 2 years it would take to produce a film adaptation, which would leave it looking dated, and therefore wanted to create a politically neutral enemy for Bond. However, in the classic James Bond films, that's been like Dr. No, From Russia with Love, when Spectre first appeared, the very first Bond films, the organisation had a more active role, often as a third party in the ongoing Cold War, with the goal of world domination. But it was only stated that they wanted world domination in You Only Live Twice. And Spectre at the time was not working for itself, but for an unnamed Asian government whose 2 representatives Blofeld speaks to during the movie. The Red China, perhaps, who backed Goldfinger. Spectre's goals in the other films have always been less lofty. I'm quoting from the official James Bond site. But their long-term strategy is illustrated by the analogy of 3 Siamese fighting fish Blofeld keeps in an aquarium in the film version of From Russia with Love, which you do see, and we'll look at that in series 2 of the Bondcast. Blofeld notes that one fish is refraining from fighting 2 others until their fight is concluded. Then the cunning fish attacks the weakened victor and kills it easily. Similarly, Spectre's main strategy was to instigate conflict between 2 powerful Emily's, namely the superpowers, hoping that they would exhaust themselves and be vulnerable when it seizes power. Spectre thus worked with both sides of the Cold War. In all novel and film depictions, organisational discipline within Spectre was notoriously draconian, with a penalty for disobedience or failure being death. With the cinematic Blofeld in the more recent films played by Christoph Waltz, Blofeld states on several occasions, the organisation does not tolerate failure. Furthermore, to heighten the impact of the executions, I read that something else, I don't know why, Blofeld often chose to focus attention on an innocent member, making it appear his death is imminent, only to suddenly strike down the actual target when that person is off guard. Very messed up, for want of a better word. Now, despite this, success did not spare members of the organisation from death because of Blofeld's whim, as it showed when Blofeld ordered the death of Count Lipp for simply hiring a greedy Palazzo, even though Lipp and Palazzo succeeded in their mission for the organisation. Fleming's Spectre had elements inspired by mafia syndicates and organised crime rings that were actively hunted by law enforcement in the 50s. The strict codes of loyalty and silence and the hard retributions that followed violations were hallmarks of US gangster rings. Mafia, the Uni 1 course, the Chinese tongue triads and the Japanese Yaza loads. Yeah, let's not get into that. Anyway, let's look at S.P.E.C.T.R.E's headquarters. So in both the novel and film adaptations of Thunderball, the physical headquarters of S.P.E.C.T.R.E were located in Paris, France, operating behind a front organisation aiding refugees. It's called FIRCO in the novels, and International Brotherhood for the Assistance of Stateless Persons in the films. Similarly, in the non-EO 1983 film Never Say Never Again, Spectre meets in a secret underground meeting room underneath an unidentified French bank. Ugh, talk about a tongue twister. With their reintroduction and reimagining in the 2015 film of the same name, Spectre, the organization's HQ and base of operations were primarily centered around a data gathering center in the Saharan desert, with a separate meeting location presumably intended to be temporary at the Palazzo Cardenza in Rome, Italy. So that's where they're based. There's a lot, because there's books and films. I know we're looking at the films, but if you want to know the history of Spectre, then we kind of got to delve into both a little bit here. So let's go for the leadership and hierarchy of Spectre. In most of its iterations, Spectre was founded and headed by supervillain Ernst Stavro Blofeld, who usually appeared accompanied by a white Persian cat in the movies, but not in the books. In both the films and the novels, Emilio Largo was the second in command. It is stated in the novel that if something were to happen to Blofeld, then Largo would assume command. The members of the headboard of Spectre went by numbers, e.g. number 1 as code names. In the novels, the numbers of the members were initially assigned at random and then rotated by 2 digits every month to prevent detection. Let's give you an example. If one was number 1 this month, he would be number 3 next month. In the novel Thunderball, Blofeld has been assigned number 2, while Emilio Largo is assigned number 1. This particular example of numbering was perhaps deliberately borrowed from revolutionary organizations wherein members exist in cells and are numerically defined to prevent identification and cross-betrayal of aims. By deliberately drawing attention away from the true leader of the organization, he was protected by masquerading as a target of lower importance, and the structure of the organization was also obscured from intelligence services. Conversely, in the classic film series, the individual's number indicates rank. Blofeld is always referred to as number 1, and Emilio Largo in the film Thunderball is number 2. So there's a difference in the numbering between the books and the films. They rotate it in the books, and the films they don't. So let's look at the appearances of Spectre in the novels. So, in the original Bond novel series, Spectre's first and last appearance as a worldwide power is in the novel Thunderball, published, as I said, in 1961. In the novel, Spectre, headed by Blofeld, attempts to conduct nuclear blackmail against real-world organization NATO. Temporarily weakened in the story's aftermath, Spectre is said to be active again in the next book, The Spy Who Loved Me, where Bond describes investigating their activities in Toronto before the story begins. In the novel On Her Majesty's Secret Service, the second chapter, of what is known as the Blofeld trilogy. Blofeld is hired by an unnamed country or party though the Soviet Union is implied, to ruin British agriculture. Blofeld's final appearance for Spectre is in the final novel of the trilogy, You Only Live Twice. Later, the John Gardner Bond novel for Special Services introduces a revived Spectre led by Blofeld's daughter, Nina Bis-Macker. Although Bond ultimately prevents Spectre from reforming, it continued under the leadership of Tamil Rahani to play a part in Roll of Honour and Nobody Lives Forever. The next Bond novelist, Raymond Benson, reintroduces Irma Bunt, or Ima Bunt, I'm not sure on pronunciation, Blofeld's assistant in his short story Blast from the Past, which is a sequel, not a sequel to You Only Live Twice. That's the book. Spectre, that's what Spectre was in the books. Now we look at Spectre in the film and its continuity here. So, in the EON productions of the James Bond series, which began in 1962 with Dr. No, Spectre plays a more prominent role. The organisation is first mentioned in Dr. No as the organisation for which Dr. Julius No, whose character profile was uploaded on Wednesday, go check it out if you haven't already. Dr. Julius No works for Spectre. This was changed from Fleming's novels, which had Dr. No working for the USSR. Now in the films, Spectre usually replaced S.P.E.C.T.R.E as the main villains, although there was a brief reference to S.P.E.C.T.R.E in the second EON Bond film and the second film in the series, From Russia with Love. The film adaptation of From Russia with Love also features the first on-screen appearance of Blofeld, although he's only identified by name in the closing credits of the film. After being absent from Goldfinger, which is the third film, Spectre returns in the fourth film, Thunderball, and then is subsequently featured in the following films: You Only Live Twice, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Diamonds Are Forever. Following Diamonds Are Forever, Spectre and Blofeld were retired from the EON production film series due to, this is real world, a long-standing litigation case starting in 1961 between producer and writer Kevin McClory and Ian Fleming over the film rights to Thunderball and its content. In 1963, Fleming settled out of court with McClory, which awarded McClory the film rights to Thunderball, although the literary rights would stay with Fleming and thus allow continuation author John Gardner to use Spectre in a number of his novels. Although Spectre and Blofeld are used in a number of films before and after Thunderball, the issue over the copyright of Thunderball did prevent Spectre and Blofeld from becoming the main villains in 1977's The Spy Who Loved Me. Consequently, the producers chose to dispose of Blofeld, not identified by name, but bold and accompanied by the character's trademark cat, writing him out of the series during the opening sequence for Your Eyes Only. Now we have the non-EON production film. Let's have a look. There's a lot of film continuity. Spectre's bigger in the film series. It says in 1963, the producers of EON Productions, Albert R. Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, had made an agreement with McClory to adapt the novel into a fourth James Bond film. The agreement also stipulated that McClory would not be allowed to make further adaptations of Thunderball for at least 10 years after its release. In autumn of 1983, almost a decade after the development complications, Warner Brothers finally released Kevin McClory's James Bond film, Never Say Never Again. The film retells the story of Thunderball and reintroduces both Spectre and its leader Blofeld, who in that was played by Max von Sydow. Now we come to the modern film continuity. So, due to the embargo placed on the series as a result of the copyright dispute, the rebooted 2006 series introduced a new terrorist cell known as Quantum, which is later revealed to be a subsidiary of Spectre. Starting with Casino Royale, it is revealed Le Chiffre, a reluctant Vesper Lind are part of the group. Serving under the mysterious Mr. White, Quantum of Solace then elaborates the eponymous group, presenting Quantum as an amalgam of powerful business people and government operatives. It is worth noting that in the Bulgarian subtitles of Quantum of Solace, the name Quantum was translated as Spectre, with the title changed to Spectre of Solace. Now we come to the 15th of November 2013. MGM and Danjak LLC announced that they had acquired all rights and interests of the estate of the late Kevin McClory, who had died in 2006. MGM, Danjak, and the McClory estate issued a statement saying that they have brought to an amicable conclusion the legal and business disputes that have arisen periodically for over 50 years, with the rights to Blofeld and Spectre in their possession. EON Productions officially reintroduced the organisation into its rebooted film series with the release of Spectre in 2015. They made the decision to retcon the poorly received Quantum of Solace. The film placed Quantum as the subsection of the wider organisation, with Blofeld, Christoph Waltz, the mastermind behind the previous films, including Raoul Silver's vengeful rampage in Skyfall, taunting Bond with his previous failures and setting up a more traditional rendition of the Bond mythos for future installments. Spectre presents the organisation as a conspiracy of legitimate businesses and organised crime. Moving to become a private intelligence agency. So then Spectre reappears as a minor antagonist force in the 2021 film No Time to Die. It is revealed that the organisation ordered the assassination of Lucifer Safin's family. Is it Lucifer? This is a very difficult name to pronounce. And he was played by Bohemian Rhapsody's own Rami Malek, who portrayed Freddie Mercury in that film. Rami Malek, as a brilliant actor, just gonna let that sit there for a moment. Excuse me. Which was carried out by Mr. White. Lucifer was spared, but his face was disfigured, and you would often see in the film, you see him wearing like a white mask. And he swore revenge against the organisation. Years later, following the events of Spectre, the organisation staged an ambush for Bond in Matera, Italy, at Vesper Lind's gravesite, which had the effect of driving Madeline Swan, who was a romantic interest of Bond. I think they were married in one of the films. And Bond apart due to her perceived betrayal of Bond. Spectre would then reconvene in 2020 to celebrate Blofeld's 74th birthday, which in reality was a trap set with the intent of killing Bond via Heracles nanobots. They get inside and they try and kill you. It's really weird. However, on Safin's orders, Valdo Obruchev reprogrammed the nanobots to instead target the members of S.P.E.C.T.R.E, killing all in attendance. Blofeld was later killed via the same method, completely wiping out the organization. So yeah, S.P.E.C.T.R.E's just, yeah, you it's a lot. S.P.E.C.T.R.E, like I said, is a massive, and that's just like a summary, and it's a 25-minute long episode as well. This is the thing. So we will look more, especially when we get to the S.P.E.C.T.R film itself, and any other films that mention S.P.E.C.T.R earlier in the series. Obviously, that would become the focus. But I just wanted to kind of give you a chunk of what S.P.E.C.T.R was, and kind of a brief history, and it's rolled throughout the whole Bond series, books and films. I would look at video games, but then this will be an hour-long episode, and I really don't think you want to sit and listen to me drone on for an hour. So with that, the next episode, recommencing with Series 1, we look at another character profile. I'm thinking Honey Rider will be out on Saturday the 27th of September. I then go away on the 29th for a week. However, what I'm going to do is next week I'm going to record for the 27th and the 4th, and I will make sure that it's published on the 4th. So we're back to our weekly schedule, or our regular programming, and then it's back to normal on the 11th. But yes, the next episode, look out for it, the 27th of September. Thank you for listening to my first Bondcast special, the spectacular S.P.E.C.T.R special. And until the next one, I'll see you all later. Goodbye.